Media briefing by the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Nomvula Mokonyane. Tumole Makhladi is there, joins us now live. Tumole, good to have you with us. So we've heard from the Minister. She was talking about the progress made on solving the problem of acid mine drainage. So before we get into what she said, talk us through what kind of a problem acid mine drainage poses, because it can affect infrastructure and property. So how bad is it?
Well, thank you very much. Without any further ado, I am now joined by Minister Nomvula Mokonyane, who just gave a presentation about the importance of the launch of this facility. Minister Mokonyane, what does this mean for communities who have, from the longest while, been suffering from the impacts and the water being contaminated by AMD?
Coming from one of the townships that has been highly affected, Kagiso, with the issues of acid mine drainage, we all are quite delighted that finally government has stepped in to find a long-term solution, a solution that also gives guarantee to water availability for a period of not less than 30 years for this economic hub, Gauteng. This water that is now going to be desalinated through the work of the TCTA here in the Central Basin, in the Eastern Basin and in the Western Basin is gonna be another form of augmenting water capacity, water security for Gauteng, as compared to us going on to possibly a third phase of the Lesotho Highlands. We now are actually cleaning mining water to give South Africans a guarantee about water availability.
Yes, Madam Minister, of course, with projects like this, it's always about the rands and cents. What are the figures in terms of how the costs will be augmented? You also made a very important point that you, as government, you're doing your best to try and shield some of the communities, perhaps, who are still considered to be communities that are previously disadvantaged and suffering from that legacy. Can you tell us what the rands and cents are all about?
This entire project is going to cost us an amount between 10 to 12 billion rands, and per annum our commitment is 600 million as agreed with National Treasury, and in return we will take the responsibility of almost 66%, and the remaining 34% will then be taken by industry, because for now our commitment is to take back this water to industry, particularly the mining sector. There's a number of mining companies and the private sector that are already quite eager to come in and be the first beneficiaries of this water, and therefore the drinkable water, potable water that they were using will now be redirected for domestic use. So the unserved will get more water out of this intervention.
Right. Madam Minister, in response to a question about who's going to look at some of the costs from companies that perhaps have absconded or are no longer working, you did make the point that government is a caring government, and government is doing its best to try and reclaim the costs for companies that have contributed to the pollution. How is that process going to be handled, and can you just give clarity for us on that?
Working together with the Department of Mineral Resources, the Environmental Affairs Department, the issues of the implementation of the polluter pay principle still is applicable, but we all know this contaminated water comes from the old gold mines, and hence our inability to find the polluter and to even say who is the real polluter. Is it the first one who actually moved into this space, or is it the last? And hence we have seen also other companies that are already here in this space, especially in the West Rand, who have also come in voluntarily to come and find solutions working together with us. Yes, ordinarily, if this did not have a serious impact on the health of our people, on the environment of our space, but also on the economy of this country, government wouldn't have cared. But we know the impact of acid mine drainage, and dealing with it in a short term will not have actually helped. So yes, polluter pay principle is applied to those that we can locate, but we have to move on and make sure that we turn this nuisance into an opportunity for water security.
It's also an opportunity for perhaps job creation in the sector. Can you touch on that for us?
It does give us an opportunity to bring in new engineers, young engineers into this space, because this is a highly technical kind of activity. Job opportunities come during construction. On the management and the operation, it requires real skills, and hence our partnership with institutions of higher learning to absorb our engineers so that these kind of solutions become on-site exposure on what needs to be done. And it's quite heartening because we know that we will be on this project for a period that is not less than 20 to 25 years. So there's guaranteed skills transfer. Those who are old already applying here must transfer the knowledge, and it must also contribute towards transformation of this sector, the water sector, particularly in terms of innovation, in terms of skills, and in terms of knowledge. That's how we see this. It's not about a short-term job. It is about investing into the future.
And finally, Madam Minister, 20 to 25 years to try and protect our water resources, which are becoming scarce resources, as we've seen with this recent drought. Is this project going to be enough to turn it around, to make sure that our water is protected from the scourge of acid mine drainage?
We still have to apply our responsible behavior when it comes to water. This is not an infinite solution, but if we manage the one that we have, the capacity, the volumes that we have, we can guarantee South Africans that through this intervention, there's water security for a period of 30 years. Use it wisely. Don't irrigate your gardens and wash your cars and now be excited that we're going to get acid mine drainage water. If you use it irresponsibly, you'll run short of it within a short space of time.
Madam Minister, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to speak to you. That was Minister Nomvula Mokonyane, just outlining the most key points as communicated here at the launch of this particular AMC plant, where water that has been contaminated from the mines around this particular area where we are. I can tell you that driving into here, there's very, very many industrial, not only your traditional mining facilities, but also other industrial processing plants that deal with very corrosive minerals. And also just walking through the plant, one could get a sense of just how toxic and how strong these chemicals are because of the stench. It's something that is very hard to capture on camera, but walking through there you could really even smell the corrosiveness and the corrosive metals within the water, and looking at the color, really, really brown, really red, really rusty water, which is then going to be processed and cleaned and put back into the water system. So as Minister highlighted, this is a solution that will see the country and the region as it is rolled out over the next decade, 2 to 3 decades or so, and it is a start. There are many plans which the Minister highlighted today. So certainly some good news from Ekurhuleni on the East Rand, and this is an initiative that has been welcomed greatly by members of the community and other interested sectors, interested parties in the mining sector and in the water and environmental sector as well. With that, it's back to you in the studio.
Tumole, thank you very much. Tumole Mokonyane live from Germiston at that media briefing. Stay with us.